Nobody saw this coming, even though the Beets family has a history of gold. Under Tony Beets' illustrious tutelage, Mike Beets ran the family's gold mining empire for many years, operating heavy machinery and supervising staff. He avoided the limelight and quietly established himself, in contrast to his more vocal siblings. Up until recently, Mike's net worth was far lower than his father's $15 million fortune. Something he left behind after years of laboring mercilessly in the harsh Yukon would alter the course of history. It has other implications as well. The story rocked the Beets family to their very core and revolved around legacy, sacrifice, and one last shock. To be more precise, what did Mike abandon? Why, though, did it strike a chord with his inner circle? Throughout his life, Mike Beets has been immersed in the world of gold, both in the earth and in the family business that brought fame to the Beets name. His father, Tony Beets, was the renowned $15 million Klondike King, and he is the second youngest son in the mining family. Mike has become known as the crew's heavy machinery specialist, able to handle the most challenging tasks on site, in contrast to his siblings Kevin and Monica, who have each established their own careers within the family's gold mining company. From multi-million-dollar wash plants to 40-ton cranes and Oshkosh trucks, Mike is the man in charge of any large relocation. He is the one ensuring that the operation stays running smoothly. But his father's wealth dwarfs his own, no matter how talented he is. Starting at the bottom like every other Beets kid, Mike has worked in mining since he was 13 years old. Mike grew up on a gold claim, where he had to operate heavy machinery, pull huge loads, and deal with the monotony of daily life as his father established an empire. Now let's go to the present. As well as being among the industry's most accomplished operators. And now for the catch. He only has a net worth of $200,000. Tony's enormous wealth is less than 2% of that. While Mike is still trying to establish himself, his older brother Kevin has a net worth of $2 million. And the most pressing concern is, why? When compared to other mining crews, the Beets family stands out. Boardrooms and investors aren't involved in this business. It's a lineage that owes its success to daring, perseverance, and, yes, luck. Tony, who was born in the Netherlands, came to Canada with a vision and built a gold mining business around it. As they worked their way through the mines, he made sure his children worked as hard as everyone else. Mike had to get up early, work long hours in sub-zero weather, and tackle the most physically demanding tasks. He was an expert with multi-million-dollar equipment, dredges, and heavy machinery by the time he was in his late teens. However, this is the truth. Tony Beets remains in charge. Mike continues to follow in his father's footsteps, in contrast to Monica and Kevin, who have stepped into more prominent leadership positions. Though highly esteemed and knowledgeable, he does not possess ownership of the business. So, instead of amassing an owner's money, he's still making a miner's pay. Both mining and managing a team of Team Beets size are expensive. What is Mike's pay? Each episode of Gold Rush costs around $25,000. His annual salary must be close to $500,000. A respectable salary, but it pales in comparison to Tony's earnings from the company. Aside from his TV job, he earns a pittance from his manual labor at the mine, compared to his siblings and father's salaries from decision-making. We can see the difference. Mike continues to do the grunt work on the ground as Kevin and Monica handle the mining company side of things. Mike may be most recognized for his part on Gold Rush, but few realize that he actually has a surprising side. He's done more than just mine. He fights in full-contact medieval combat when he's not transporting dirt that's rich in gold across the Yukon. Indeed, actual sword battles. Mike takes part in real nighttime battles as a medieval recreationist, which entails donning a 60-pound suit of armor. He's unique among his relatives because of this pastime. Even while Tony and Kevin can't take their eyes off of mining, Mike is hell-bent on something else. Mining all day and all night. What a striking difference. He works as a machine operator in the Yukon, where he fights against nature to extract gold from the earth. On the other hand, he leads a completely different kind of adventure when he's not on the clock, training for sword fights and competing in events. Back in the mining world, though, Mike and Tony don't always get along. Even though they're on the same team, they've had their share of arguments. An unanticipated trommel shutdown was one of the most catastrophic blow-ups. Never one to back down from a challenge, Tony was counting on Mike to solve the issue right away. It was Mike's hesitation that he had been promised it wouldn't move that made Tony unhappy. He conveyed his point clearly. Excuses don't matter in mining. What matters is that work gets done. In fact, that has been Mike's whole professional life. He's a machine operator on Team Beets, and he's talented and diligent. While Kevin took charge, Mike has a ways to go before he can be considered a true leader. Even at $200,000, Mike's net worth is far lower than that of his siblings and father. However, why is that? Mike is not an owner, but rather an employee. He is not the owner of the enterprise, but he is in charge of the heavy equipment, machinery, and the smooth operation of the mine. What this means is that Mike is still making a miner's wage, even if Tony and Kevin are reaping huge profits from their gold sales and business dealings. And that brings up an important point. Is he destined to always be second fiddle to his dad? The mining process is fraught with peril, costly, and haphazard. Teams often succeed or fail in just one season. Tony amassed a fortune by prudent decision-making over many years, while Mike toils away at the details of running the business. However, that in no way diminishes his worth. To be more specific, Mike is usually the one to take the most daring chances. When machinery breaks down, he's the one who steps in to repair, relocate, or retrieve it. Concerning instances when things almost went wrong, the Beets group came dangerously close to losing a major member. Mike was tasked with transporting a wash plant, a crucial piece of mining machinery worth $300,000. Tragically, what ought to have been a mundane transportation task turned into something far more. The task was meant to be straightforward. Put a 25-ton wash plant through its paces at Dominion Creek after you've driven it 20 kilometers. A 4-hour task, or even 5 if you drive carefully. Nothing is ever simple when it comes to gold mining. With an incredible $300,000 in value, Mike Beets was at the wheel, directing the operation to safely transport the plant. The safety and continued operation of the equipment was the primary objective of this high-stakes transit operation. Things got off to a good start. At Paradise Hill, the plant, dubbed the Kiwi Wash Plant, had lain dormant all season, gathering dust and rust. It wasn't perfect, but it was still an essential piece of gear. Competent to process tons of paid dirt hourly. Mike was in charge of transportation, and Tony Beets arranged to have it transferred. The machinery was lowered onto a large lowboy trailer, fastened with chains of industrial quality, and set up for the lengthy journey. Nothing happened within the first several miles. Like clockwork, the Beets crew guided the convoy across the dirt roads, expertly negotiating tight turns in difficult terrain. However, one of the shackles that held everything in place suddenly broke. A sudden and brutal change in weight occurred. Suddenly, the whole washing plant tipped over. It was too late for the squad to respond. The enormous building slid off the trailer in an instant and slammed into the uneven terrain below. A dust devil erupted from the collision, and the valley resounded with the sound of metal rubbing against rock. Mike must have felt his stomach drop. Turning over on its side was a piece of mining equipment worth $250,000. Maybe damaged and half buried under gravel. An all-out emergency had ensued. Every second counts when you're mining for gold. Without gold, there can be no profits, and a non-functioning wash facility is no guarantee of either. Preserving the season was at stake, not merely correcting an error. Tony Beets had no intention of being idle. He wasted no time assembling a recovery team that included 2 enormous front-end loaders. The type of machinery that could effortlessly move thousands of pounds. This wasn't going to be a simple repair, even with their might. Though simple, the strategy was fraught with danger. Secure the plant's chains, carefully raise it, then gently lower it back onto its base so as not to inflict any additional harm. It only takes one misstep to escalate the situation. The plant runs the risk of toppling over, which might damage or even destroy vital components. To take charge of the recovery operation on his own, Mike hopped into a loader. It was his knowledge that failure to execute the task accurately may result in weeks of setbacks and the loss of gold worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The initial tug pushed the shackles to their breaking point. The plant fought back, its roots set firmly in the soil. Still, it started to budge, little by little. There was a palpable sense of unease. If something goes wrong, the whole structure could collapse, rendering it useless. To maintain a consistent and manageable force, the loaders shifted their grip. The wash plant returned to its base with a resounding thud after a final tug. I felt a surge of relief. Once again, the building stood tall. Was it still practical, though? At first glance, there were dings, scratches, and bent support beams. Sluices, screens, and the shaker deck, however, remained undamaged. The plant had managed to withstand the fall unbelievably. Time was of the essence. In order to be sure that every attaching point was secure, the team reinforced the chains and tried the transfer again. At a more leisurely pace this time. Extreme caution was exercised at every turn and bump. Dominion Creek was reached by the Kiwi Wash plant after an 8-hour, twice-as-long voyage. Without wasting a second, the crew unloaded it and meticulously set it up for instant use. Despite the initial setback, they were able to recover and save the season. This was a wake-up call for Mike. He learned his lesson. No work is ever boring, no matter how much experience you have. The company's survival was in jeopardy due to a single broken chain that almost cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Digging holes and operating sluice boxes are only part of gold mining. Manipulating machinery worth millions of dollars requires extreme caution and accuracy. However, Mike was no stranger to roadside assistance. Moving machinery is one thing entirely. Another is using it to traverse perilous terrain. And Mike had to fend off a 15-ton semi-truck's tendency to slide off a mountain road while standing on a steep incline, one of his most difficult situations. Steep inclines, loose gravel, and erratic weather made the journey to Indian River famously dangerous. While making this specific journey, Mike's truck encountered a muddy area mid-climb and he abruptly lost control. It all began with the rear wheel sliding, and soon the truck was drifting side to side. At that moment, he was helpless. The force of gravity was manifest. At which point the vehicle started to swerve dangerously close to the brink. The entire contraption appeared to be on the verge of tipping over for a few harrowing seconds. However, Mike was no stranger to being in a jam. He maintained composure, braced the vehicle, and called for assistance. Before the truck could continue to slip, Beets hurried in with another vehicle to secure it. They fastened a heavy-duty chain and, using a concerted pull, stabilized the semi, allowing it to move again. The relief was palpable as they gained the peak. Since the fight had already been fought, the remainder of the trek was primarily downhill. After rescuing a $300,000 wash plant from a hillside, overcoming a near-catastrophic slide on Hunker Summit, and ensuring the operation ran smoothly, Mike had been tested in ways few could have imagined this season. Most people would give in to that kind of pressure. Mike, though, saw it as no different from any other day in the Yukon. But his private life remains shrouded in obscurity, in stark contrast to the limelight that his mining career enjoys at all times. Mike behaves in a different manner than his father, who became famous as the forceful and uncompromising head of the Beets family. He avoids social media and doesn't want people to know what happens to him when the cameras stop rolling because he doesn't want them to know about his private life. He has kept his personal life extremely discreet for someone who has spent so much time on television. There is no evidence of a family beyond his parents and brothers. No marriage or confirmed partnerships are listed in official documents. Mike stays focused on work, and that's where people know him best, in contrast to his siblings Kevin and Monica, who have been more forthcoming about their personal life. For him, mining is more than simply a job, it's his entire existence. Under Tony's tutelage, he has been learning the ropes of the business since he was 13 years old. Mike has stayed true to the family business, maintaining order at Paradise Hill, even though Kevin has just left to launch his own mining operation. He has proven over the years that he is more than simply Tony's employee by being the operation's backbone. He plans to make a name for himself in the gold mining industry. His responsibilities are extensive, ranging from supervising crew workers to maintaining equipment worth millions of dollars. And he keeps going, never giving up, even when faced with problems, obstacles, and the brutal Yukon weather. Being an employee of Tony Beets isn't a picnic. Being related doesn't make him any less of a perfectionist than his extremely exacting father. Mike and his dad have had their share of arguments, but it's always about business and never about anything personal. Tony wants to see outcomes. And it's Mike's responsibility to correct things when they go wrong. At one point, a trommel unexpectedly stopped working. Tony was hoping his son would take charge. Although Mike tried to justify his hesitation by saying that someone had assured him it wouldn't move, Tony would have none of it. Until he finds a solution, he considers the task incomplete, and he refuses to give up. That's just the type of strain Mike is used to laboring under as an employee of the Beets family. Mike has done more of the actual heavy lifting in comparison to Monica and Kevin. Kevin has now proceeded with his personal claim, where he is demonstrating his ability to mine outside of his father's supervision. Monica is in charge of the gold cleanup, making sure that each and every ounce of gold is accurately measured and recorded. What about Mike, though? He's the one who controls the machinery and keeps it running smoothly. The operation of mining machinery, like his 40-ton cranes, 25-ton wash plants, and semi-trucks transporting thousands of pounds of equipment up perilous Yukon routes, is facilitated by his labor. Every operation, piece of equipment, and transit job he controls is more valuable than ever before, thanks to record high gold prices. His dedication to the company has been acknowledged. Although Kevin may have gone in a different direction, even Tony admits that Mike has taken a giant leap forward. He has proven his leadership abilities by keeping the mine working smoothly and running Paradise Hill, an easy feat as a member of the Beets family. He has also played a key role in several of their most significant moves, such as their 4-year hiatus from Indian River. Just that one move necessitated lugging heavy gear over precarious terrain, something the average person would never dream of attempting. It was merely another obstacle that Mike had to conquer. What happens next is the most pressing concern. Although Tony is currently at the helm of the family business, Mike is well prepared to succeed him in due time. Will he feel compelled to? He has never been one to bask in the limelight or reveal his ambitions for the future. Mining has simply been his life. His knowledge is more than enough to launch his own operation if he ever decides to break away. So far, though, he has been faithful to his father's business, maintaining Paradise Hill and making sure the Beets family is still one of the Klondike's most successful mining teams. Considering all of his creations, one thing stands out. Being Tony's kid isn't the only thing that makes Mike Beets special. Not only is he an accomplished operator and qualified leader, but he was also an integral part of the most profitable gold mining operation that has ever been conducted. Whatever he decides to do next, he will do it according to his own terms, even though his future is still uncertain.